Hello everyone, and in this video we're now going to explore how you answer the paper 2 comparative question for the EDEXCEL English Literature AS examination in order to achieve full marks. So in a previous video we've already explored how you will plan the answer. We'd also explored how the mark scheme breaks down to assure we're doing the right things in the correct order. So how do we answer the answer? Well, here's the question again. Compare the ways in which the writers of your two chosen texts present tensions within marriage. In your answer you must include, and obviously you've got the different elements there which link directly to our mark scheme, which we've spoken about, as I've said previously in our last video. So how do I write the essay? Well, obviously it's your pretty much stereotypical essay apart from the other comparative element. So we want to make sure that my introduction and conclusion aren't just generic, but we want to make sure that we are achieving marks as we go. So can we address the argument? Can we explain what we're thinking, or why, but to a brief example, we are thinking it? Then you're immediately starting to gain marks. Your main body, there's your 2, 3, 4 main points. Again, it's just the form of PE, PEA, PIE, whatever it is you've used in the past. Make a clear point. Where's your evidence? How you analyse that evidence to prove what you're saying is true, link it with context. But then what you will be doing, and you can either do this within the same paragraph or separately as a different paragraph, then make the comparisons, but do exactly the same thing. But as you're looking at the second text, can you state how or why that's similar and why that might be? The conclusion, as we mentioned already, reaffirm your argument once more, making it clear why you feel this way about the text and why I've been presented in that way. So, I'm choosing two texts which aren't actually prose texts, but the method you're using will be exactly the same. Within both extracts, the breakdown of the marriage, seemingly instigated in part by the fatal flaw of the male protagonist, is evident. Within Shakespeare's Renaissance tragedy Othello, the tragic flaw of jealousy is the reason for the collapse of marriage the audience witness, whilst within the American modern work of Albee, it appears that alcohol is the element which has brought about the most bestial scene the audience observe. However, it seems that the character of Othello is far more physically controlling of his wife, due in part to the laws that governed marriage at the time, compared with the more psychologically controlling figure in Albee's work. Argument nice and clear, comparisons already being made, already starting to link a little bit of context. You get the idea. This is looking like a piece of work which is going to achieve full marks. As mentioned above, the bestial behaviour of the male protagonist in both extracts is presented as the overrunning issue within. Shakespeare's Othello, believing his young wife has been having an affair, publicly insults her by not only striking her, but for extremely offensive language such as a repetition of devil, suggesting that she's not just sinful, but she's actually a devil incarnate. At a highly Christocentric period in English history, this lexical choice highlights the extreme feeling of hatred the protagonist now feels towards his wife. For a contemporary audience of Shakespeare, in many ways this would have been seemingly ironic, as the character of Othello and Moore would have been viewed as a devil himself and expected to act in a sinful rather than gentlemanly manner. Therefore, whilst the action of striking a woman is always shocking to an audience, Shakespeare is playing with stereotypes, suggesting in a way that the character's additional tragic flaw is not solely jealousy, but his race. Shakespeare then utilises the syllabic structure of pentameter later in the extract to highlight to the actor playing the role the anger of the figure at that time. By stressing lexes such as you, she, and turn, Shakespeare shows a character who is not only aggressive, but is accusational in tone in a way which disengages himself from Desdemona and places the blame for his emotional state firmly on her. Alternatively, this behaviour could be highlighting the reaction of the disempowered male, which they demonstrate when they believe the female has broken away from the traditional conduct of patriarchal society, leading a feminist reader to highlight how desperate male society is to cling on to its control of the female. This argument can be said to be the case, as you can see the link to our second text now, within Albee's modern play. George displays a similar reaction to Othello by slapping his wife, Martha, as he believes she had been pouring the undergraduates. Once again, the shocking animalistic violence of the male as a reaction to a loss of control demonstrates again that the fear patriarchal society has of losing control. This is even more relevant for Albee's audience due to the rise of the feminist movement within America at the time. The lexical choices of Albee are similar to Shakespeare's in the sense that they exude a sinful character to the audience and highlight a clear belief by the male character that a female is in the wrong. The use of undergraduates suggests an almost paedophilic nature, and when this is combined with the fact that she is a married woman, will lead at least some in the audience to consider Martha a devil. The use of pause, rather than creating a sense of distance in the relationship, as in Othello, depicts Martha as inhuman, reinforcing the uncivilized nature of the female in the eyes of the male protagonist, even though, ironically, He is the male in both extracts who is displaying uncivilized characteristics. I've then put a second play in there if you wanted to, so you can see obviously how I would then link a third, but I don't necessarily need to in this text, but it's just an example of what you could do. Although written around 100 years apart, the depiction of the male protagonist shows that the male view of women within marriage has altered little over this period. Both characters are cruel to their significant others, which is in part due to the disrespect their partners have shown them in public. However, as stated earlier, this lack of control shows in particular by a fellow who is deemed more shocking to an audience due to the physical nature of his anger, which is shocking in part due to its ungentlemanly nature, but also perhaps due to the fact that this character's strengths put him at an unfair advantage over the female. So that's how I'd use the elements of the mark scheme. That's how I'd make the links. Remember, we've already looked at how we will plan. Thank you. Good luck. Go back over the videos now and make sure you're revising for that exam. Thank you.